Hi and welcome to another episode of Gunnercast ZA. In this episode we're going to be looking at the West Ham game this past weekend as Unai Emery picked up his first win in the Premier League. We're also going to be looking at a squad analysis and opinion as well as a tricky fixture against Cardiff this weekend. On a side note, I also want to look at some transfer speculation as well as the UEFA Champions League draw and the Carabao Cup draw. Welcome to every single one of you to the fourth episode of Gunnercast ZA. Now, we finally did it. We finally got some points on the board and we got our first win under Unai Emery this past weekend against West Ham. A beautiful 3-1 victory, but don't let that scoreline fool you. This was an extremely tricky and tough game for the Arsenal. There were large parts of that game where I was very stressed out and I was, fearing the worst. But we got through with a victory, and I guess that's all that counts in the end. But there's still a lot of work to be done. Some of the negatives I picked up in the match were that our defensive frailties are still apparent. Wow, we looked shaky on the day. I was sitting on the edge of my seat just wondering, oh no, here come West Ham again. Oh no, they're going to score. The whole time. And West Ham weren't even playing that well prior to the Arsenal game, and they brought it. But now, I don't know if they just stepped it up from the last two matches, or if it was just our shaky defense that allowed them to create so many chances. But I'm leaning more towards the latter. I think our defense still needs a hell of a lot of work, but at least some signs are creeping through that it's getting better and that we're progressing. One of the other things I noticed in the game that we were misplacing so many of our passes and we were giving possession away way too frequently for my liking. You could see we were trying to start an attack the whole time, but the players weren't reading each other and they weren't gelling. And on so many occasions, a player would pass to another one and the other one just wasn't ready for it. So I don't know what was going on there, but I think that's something we also got to work on. And hopefully we bring it against Cardiff and we play a much better passing game. Now, prior to the game, we just learned that Mesut Ozil was out sick again. And this was quite a bummer because based on the history of this fixture and how he performs against West Ham, he was going to be a huge miss for us. And you could see it. I mean, it felt like we lacked creativity on the day. It looks like we were running out of ideas and you can tell that the Arsenal missed him. So hopefully he gets back soon enough and hopefully he's ready for the Cardiff game this weekend. Now, one of the other things I noticed in the game that was really bad for Arsenal was that Lucas Fabianski really showed up on the day and was pulling off some brilliant saves against his former club. I mean, back in the Arsenal days, I always used to refer to him as Flappy Hansky because he'd always, make mistakes or spill the ball But it seems like this weekend he was Fabulous Hansky. And I was just wondering, Lucas, why didn't you play this well for us? I mean, the guy was pulling off some top draw saves during that game, and he really kept West Ham in it. That Mustafi header that he saved, the Aaron Ramsey shot that he got down so quickly to, it's crazy how good of a game he had. And yeah, it was frustrating because we couldn't get some of those balls past him, and he was a solid rock in their defense that day. Now, onto the positives of the game. Firstly, the score. It was really nice and it felt really good to get our first win in the Premier League. And yeah, 3 points finally. And with those 3 points came a significant jump in the table. I mean, we were sitting on 16th, 17th. And at the end of the weekend, we found ourselves in 9th position. So hopefully that win gets the ball rolling and hopefully the players have more confidence going into the next game. so we can keep building on this win and keep getting more points and climbing the table. One of the really positive things I picked up in the game was the team's attitude after they had conceded the first goal. You could see that the boys were determined to get up and get on with the game and try and get one back. And that's exactly what they did. They showed a great attitude and kept their heads up, and 5 minutes later, there we had the equalizing goal. So thank you, Nacho, for getting us back in the game. One of the other goal scorers was Danny Welbeck, and I thought that was also really good to see him get on the score sheet again. That'll definitely boost his confidence, and hopefully we can, utilize him in the Europa League or the FA Cup, or even as a super sub in the Premier League, and hopefully that goal that he scored has built on his confidence and he'll have a good start to the season like he did last season. So yeah, we'll see where he plays a part in Unai Emery's plans. I think he might come on as a sub in the Cardiff game over the weekend, but I'll discuss that later. Now, I want to quickly discuss or analyze the squad, and these are entirely opinionated, so you don't have to agree with me. But okay, let's start from the back. With regards to the goalkeeping situation, we've got two very good keepers on our hands at the moment, with the likes of Cech and Leno. Now, Cech has started all 3 Premier League games, and he's looked shaky in the beginning, but he started to sort of get his form back, get his confidence back, because he's pulling off a lot of decent saves and he's keeping us in the game at times. But the new style of play that Emery is trying to drill into the team, shall I say, it doesn't seem like it fits Cech, because he's still very dodgy with his feet. Now, this brings me to Leno, because Leno, from what we've heard, has played with this style of play before, and he's a lot better with his feet. He's a lot better with playing from the back and distributing the ball. But Cech is keeping him on the subs bench, and I'm really starting to wonder when Leno will get a chance to play for us and to prove himself. I'm thinking that he'll probably play for us in the Europa League. He'll be our keeper throughout the tournament. I think he'll also play a part in the FA Cup, but I wonder if he's ever going to get the chance in the Premier League. You see, if it were me, I would start playing him in these smaller games, the ones against Newcastle, the ones against Cardiff, the ones against Burnley, or whoever it may be. But I don't know if we're going to see that just yet. I would like to see him in the Cardiff game. I want to see what our new signing is capable of. I want to see him play. It's killing me to see him on the bench, and I'm excited for his debut. So that is my view on the whole Cech-Leno debacle. I think Cech is a very good keeper, and he's probably going to retain that number 1 spot for quite a while now. His experience also plays a huge role in why he's starting over Leno. So yeah, that's all I have to say basically on the whole goalkeeping situation. Now, moving to the centre-backs, I've noticed that Socrates and Mustafi are slowly starting to get there. It seems like they're building a partnership with each other. You can see Socrates is getting a little bit more vocal on the pitch now, which is what I like to see. We need someone out there shouting at the defenders, telling them to get into position when they're not in position, telling them to mark their man, telling them to track back, all that jazz. So yeah, I'm excited to see if they get on very well. And who knows, maybe their partnership becomes so strong that they keep Lauren Koscielny out as soon as he gets back from injury. But I highly doubt that. I mean, Kos is the man. Now, I mentioned that we need a defender that shouts at the rest of the squad, or the shouts at the rest of the defenders, keeps them in line, keeps them compact. And one of the players that we signed recently, I think, has those qualities, and that's Stefan Lichtsteiner. Now, I'm wondering, when this guy will get a chance on our team, because at the moment Hector Bellerin is keeping him on the bench. I'm a huge fan of Lichtsteiner. The guy has just proved himself to me in preseason and in the Manchester City game. He's got that edge about him. He's got the aggressiveness. He's got that little bit of cuntiness that you need in a defender. And he's solid. He's got the experience. He's not slow. He's quite pacey. He can put a good ball in as well. So these are very good qualities that he possesses. And I'm wondering when we're going to start playing him in the starting lineup. Will he play in our Europa League matches? Will he play in our FA Cup matches only? How long is it going to be before he actually plays another game for us in the Premier League? Which brings me to the man who's keeping him on the bench, and that's Hector Bellerin. Now, I noticed, when I look at Bellerin, the first thing I look at is his defensive qualities, and that's where I'm starting to get really frustrated. He seemed very out of position a lot of the times in that West Ham game. He didn't look comfortable with the ball at his feet in the defensive half. And it's starting to really worry me because a lot of the times we're being exposed on the right side. And I've noticed that he doesn't have that determination to track back or run back like he used to back in the old days whenever we lost possession. So yeah, it's really worrying. Hopefully he gets his act together and starts working on his defense. But offensively, he's actually pretty decent, and I think that's what's keeping him in the squad at the moment. His runs down the wing are really effective. He's using his pace to our advantage, and he basically got 2 assists in the West Ham game. So, yeah, my final point on Bellerin would be that, look, he's very good offensively, but defensively, he's still got a lot of work to do. And it's funny because some people were even saying, no, why don't you play Lichtsteiner at right back and then throw Bellerin on the right wing? But I don't see that happening. I don't think that's going to work. They were saying you should maybe replace Mkhitaryan with him, and no, that's a no-no for me. So, yeah. Now, speaking of Mkhitaryan, I've noticed that a lot of our fans on social media have been slating him and saying that he's been performing badly and that he should be dropped. But I was looking at him specifically in that West Ham game ever since we found out that Ozil was going to be missing. I was looking to him to be the creator in all the attacks. It was him and Ramsey, essentially, that played that number 10 role. But I actually thought he played really decently. And what a lot of people don't see is how instrumental or how pivotal he was to the attacks going forward. People just see the person who assisted the goal and they see the goal scorer. But what I picked up on was that Mkhitaryan was playing these very clever balls behind the defense, one of which set up Ramsey for a great goal-scoring opportunity. And the other two were, in fact, the passes to Bellerin before Bellerin assisted the goals. So you can't tell me that he had no part to play in the game. He also had that shot that Lucas Fabianski brilliantly saved. So yeah, he was very, very good. He had a very good game, in my opinion. And I think he showed us that should Mesut Ozil go missing again or be sick again, that he can slot in and at least try and create something. So yeah, big ups for me for Mkhitaryan. I thought he was a brilliant player. He also played well in the Chelsea game, getting an assist and a goal. So far, I think he's been playing decently this season. And here's to hoping that he plays even better for the rest of the games. Now, I want to take a step back and look at our central midfield. At the moment, Emery has been starting Xhaka and Guendouzi together. And let's just say that Xhaka hasn't been playing so well with Guendouzi. We saw this in the West Ham game. Both of them were on their own planet. They did not communicate well with each other. They looked almost lost, like they weren't connecting. So I don't think they're a very good partnership to have in the middle there. I was growing frustrated with both of them on the day, and it was disappointing to see Guendouzi not performing as well as he had been in the previous two games. But I think fatigue played a big role. I mean, he'd been playing all the games in pre-season. He played the full match against Manchester City and the full match against Chelsea. So you could see that maybe he had run out of steam, and that's when the manager decided to bring Torreira on. Now, I gotta tell you, as soon as Torreira came on, it was like magic happened. Like, he was the glue in our team. Suddenly, Xhaka didn't look so bad. Suddenly, Xhaka was actually performing much better as soon as Torreira came on. And I think those two complement each other very well. Now, what I suggest for the future, and like I say, this is my opinion, I think Emery should start Torreira alongside either Guendouzi or Xhaka. I think Xhaka and Guendouzi are more or less the same player in the sense that they're not as good defensively, but they are very good at distributing the ball and going forward and picking out passes. So having a defensive midfielder with them will most probably bring the best out of them. So yeah, straight up, I would start Torreira in every single match from here on out. And I've got a feeling that Unai Emery will probably start Xhaka along with Torreira for most of the games. Now, I haven't been a big fan of Xhaka this season so far, but he's shown that in the latter part of last season, he sort of started showing form. And maybe he's a late bloomer, maybe he doesn't start seasons very well, but he only gets into it at a later stage. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt right now. And from what I saw when he played with Torreira, he actually played decently. And hopefully, if the manager starts them together more often, he can bring out more performances like he did as soon as Torreira came on against West Ham. So yeah, here's hoping to Xhaka regaining form. Now, up front, we have the dilemma with Aubameyang and Lacazette. I must say, Aubameyang, although isolated again in the West Ham game, I think he was starting to show more promise and more involvement. I saw him get on the ball a lot more than what he would when he's not playing with Lacazette. And he also had a couple of good dribbles as well. So he showed some really good signs that he could maybe play in that striker role alone up front. But when Lacazette comes on, you can see the two have this spark. And right now, I don't know what Emery sees that we aren't seeing as to why he's not starting Lacazette with Aubameyang. And it's frustrating. And the reason I say this is because as soon as Lacazette came off the bench in that West Ham game, you could see there was this rejuvenated energy and spirit going forward. And Lacazette caused some major problems. I mean, he was the reason that West Ham scored the own goal. So I don't know why Emery isn't starting them together, but hopefully he will one day at least, and he will see that it could bear good results. I don't know, maybe Lacazette isn't fit enough to play a whole match, or I don't know what the boss sees that we're not seeing, but I guess we'll have to wait patiently and just trust him. Moving on to the fixture this weekend, it is Cardiff versus the Arsenal in Wales. And look, Cardiff haven't had the greatest of starts this season so far. I mean, out of the 3 matches that they've played, they've won none of them, they've drawn 2, and they've lost 1. But I still think that this is going to be a tricky fixture for us. I think that Cardiff are going to really bring their A game and they're going to give us a tough time, especially with our defense. I think they're going to cause us some problems going forward, but I'm still confident that we're going to get a win. If not, it'll be a draw, and that will be that. Plus, it looks like Mesut Ozil will be back in the squad. I saw the training photos, and he looks like he's up and running again. Hopefully, he won't be sick on Sunday, but I think he's probably fought the virus off. He's also been getting a lot of criticism from the Arsenal fans recently, but I don't think that's helping his form at all. I think we as fans really need to stand behind him and support him. Even if it's just a tweet or an Instagram message saying good luck for the game. You never know, he might see it and he might get motivated and know that the fans are behind him, and then he might start performing. I don't know. Hopefully he has a good game on Sunday. So how I think Unai Emery is going to line up for this match, I think he's going to start with Cech in goal. At the right back position, he's going to have Bellerin. The two centre backs will be Socrates and Mustafi. The left back will be Nacho Monreal. In the centre, I think he's going to start Torreira this time. And alongside Torreira, he's going to have Granit Xhaka. In front of those two, he'll probably have Mesut Ozil playing in that number 10 role. He'll have Mkhitaryan on the right-hand side. And he'll either play Alex Iwobi or Danny Welbeck on the left. I think after Welbeck's performance last week, he might get a spot in the starting lineup. But it most likely will probably be Iwobi to start on the left. And then playing as our lone striker up front will be Aubameyang again. That's what I think he's going to line up with on Sunday. As for the predicted score, I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory to Arsenal. I think if Ramsey doesn't start, he's going to come off the bench and score one goal. I also think the other goal scorer for Arsenal will be Aubameyang. I think he's finally going to break his dry spell and get his goal-scoring season started this weekend. Moving on to a little bit of transfer speculation, and there's word in the papers that Reece Nelson might be leaving us for another club, although it is a loan move, but it seems like Hoffenheim have showed some interest in him, and it looks like he might be loaned out to the Bundesliga side. This, however, I think is a very good move for him. At least we're not selling him, but this will give him the opportunity to go out there, get more regular first-team football, and who knows, he might even play in the Champions League for them. But yeah, he's a promising young talent, and he deserves some more playing time. So yeah, hopefully this is the right step in his career, and if he does go, I'm sure all of us as fans will wish him the best of luck, and will welcome him with open arms as soon as that loan deal's done. Now, another piece of transfer speculation that's come through is that Yaya Toure has reportedly passed a medical with a London club. Now, he was a free agent after his contract expired with Manchester City, and a lot of us are wondering who this London club could be. I definitely don't think it's us. I think we've got enough cover in the centre mid with the likes of Elneny, Torreira, Guendouzi, Xhaka. So yeah, I'm going to rule Arsenal out of this one. It would be nice to have a little bit of experience and strength in the midfield as backup, but like I say, I think we've got enough backup as it is. One of my mates speculated that it could be Tottenham that he might be moving to. That could be seen as a possibility. They don't really have enough cover in that centre mid Also, they don't really have the funds to buy new players, so getting a player on a free contract also makes sense. But then again, there are also reports that Yaya Toure might be moving to his former club, Olympiacos, and not be in the Premier League at all. So this is all speculation, of course, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this one pans out. Now, last night the draw for the Champions League group stages was held, and I was keeping a close eye on all the English clubs and the groups that they were seeded into. And I must say, it looks like Manchester City got the easiest group. They're in Group F alongside Shakhtar Donetsk, Lyon, and Hoffenheim. Now, Manchester United, however, did not get such a lucky draw. They're in Group H with Juventus, Valencia, and BSC Young Boys. So that's going to prove a tricky competition for them, I think. And I've got a feeling that Valencia are going to beat them to the punch, and Manchester United will probably be relegated to the Europa League. Liverpool also got seeded into quite a tricky group. They're in Group C with PSG, Napoli, and Red Star Belgrade, which is a team we played in the Europa League, if you recall. So it's going to be really tough for them to qualify, especially with PSG and Napoli being very, very good teams. But I think they'll probably pull it off and get through to the knockout stages. And then you have the Spuds. They're in Group B with the likes of Barcelona, PSV Eindhoven, and Inter Milan. And I could not be happier. I really hope that Inter Milan and Barcelona beat them to the punch and they just get knocked out of Champions League straight up. It would mean that they get relegated into the Europa League, but nothing would make me happier than to see them crash out of the Champions League very early. As for us, well, we're not in Champions League yet, but we do have Europa League coming up this season, and the draw for that is happening today, midday. So hopefully we get a very nice group, one that we can easily get through, one that we can play the youngsters in the group stages. And yeah, I look forward to seeing who we're going to be facing, and I look forward to the Europa League, and hopefully Unai Emery can pull off his Europa League magic this season and win it for us. Because getting top 4 in the league is going to be quite difficult this season, so Europa League might just seem like the only way into the Champions League next season. But yeah, we'll see how that turns out with the draw, and I'll keep you updated on that. Oh, and besides the Champions League draw, there was also the Carabao Cup draw for round 3, and Arsenal drew Brentford Football Club. So nice easy game to start with. I think we're going to play our youngsters in the Carabao Cup. I think we're going to see the likes of Eddie Nketiah, Emil Smith-Rowe. If I were the coach, I'd play Damian Martinez in the goal. He had a very good preseason as well. So, yeah, I think the Carabao Cup is going to be a good tournament for the youngsters to play in. And I think that Brentford Football Club is the perfect team to start off against. That almost brings me to the end of this episode. Before I sign off, I got a couple of questions here from some listeners. So, yeah, let's get into the first one. If you could have one current player come back to Arsenal, who would you choose? I think the answer has got to be Santi Cazorla. I mean, I've been watching videos of how he's been doing at Valencia at the moment, and it looks like he wasn't even injured in the first place. The guy has literally just retained his form throughout his injury, and he looks a star player. I really wish that we had him back in our squad, and I really wish that we didn't let him go. So yeah, that would be my answer to that question. Santi Cazorla all day, every day. Another question here, and it's a little bit more broad. Looking at the Premier League now, who do you think will be the top scorer at the end of the season? Well, if I look at the Premier League now, I would say that the top scorer would probably be Sadio Mane. He looks like he's in the form of his life. And I mean, 3 goals from 3 matches, that's a very good ratio, very good record. So yeah, I'm going to have to go with Sadio Mane for that one. And then quickly, one final question. This one isn't very serious, but someone said hashtag Wenger in with a question mark. And no, I'm going to have to disagree with that. I think Unai Emery is the perfect man for this job. I can already see what he's starting to accomplish. And I think that if we just give him time, he's gonna do great things. So yeah. That brings us to the end of this episode. If you want to hear more Gunnercasts, simply go subscribe on YouTube or follow me on SoundCloud. Gunnercast ZA is also on iTunes now, so please subscribe and leave a review. Hopefully we can bring back all 3 points against a tricky Cardiff side this weekend. Come on, you Gunners.